Hello, namaskar, good day. It's the 12th of June today. It's around 11:35. Now, I'm going to share with you some more wisdom. I'm trying to bring to you some more in depth about our paradoxical situation in modern day living. In this modern day life, people pay so much attention to amenities, facilities. These days we have so many things are out, so many things have evolved, and inventors, scientists, thinkers, they have developed and what we say things have become more technical and more developed, in many areas, not only gadgets, but in everyday thinking. The human brain is becoming so much more convoluted and complex. And one of the issues that is still humanity facing is to cope in its environment. Some thinkers and philosophers postulate that we have all kind of situations we face around us. Some are degrading, some are ennobling, some are challenging. But the main issue is that how well would we fare at the end of the day? How much have we garnered? Yeah, how much have we garnered as an individual, as a human being, in terms of sacrifice, in terms of contribution, in terms of social standing, in terms of balance and equipoise? These are complicated questions that face us every day. And we often wondered what the day will bring to us. Somebody says, don't think of tomorrow, tomorrow will take care of itself. And his philosophy is the strongest today. He has the most followers. They're the richest religion, and it's can't debated that don't think for tomorrow. But still some people say make hay while the sun shine. Look, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. So these are all conflicting doctrines and conflicting theory. Personally, my philosophy is that you should make the best effort, put the best effort, right? And at least you try, and you will only have positive outcomes if you don't surrender or have faith. You won't get help, you won't get divine intervention or supernatural additives or intrusions into your life. So for example, there are so many other struggling souls around us also. And everybody want the highest, everybody want the best. Not many people want to start from the groundwork, or to nobody want to start from the bottom. Everybody just want to start from point X. Now, the old school that I learned from is that one has to prepare oneself from nursery to primary to secondary to tertiary. And even philosophically, you have to be groomed, you have to have the proper environment, the teacher. You have to have the right philosophy, the right practice, and you have to apply it in a methodical way. You just don't do things just like that, and only this way it will have a good effect on others in our community and our family or neighborhood and so on. So these things don't come automatically like that. Some people are fortunate that they were born in a good family, a home where these values, they were inherited from people who were trained also, aunties, uncles, father, mother, sister, brother. They were trained, and they passed on the teaching from childhood. Some people learn from the classroom, at the workplace. So it all differs, and the quality and the standard that people acquire is marked sometimes by the university they study, by the country they studied in, the places they've lived, the people they've associated with. So these all have a bearing, Oftentimes, I would wonder that there are so many social groups and social organizations helping people. When I was with the monks, they used to give classes at the prison during the 90s. I think 2000s also. They go there and they're trying to inspire these prisoners. Many of them learn meditation. And they went on to do CXC and they passed their exam and they're going to come out back. They're going to hold jobs. They're going to try to rehab themselves, have a family, a home, and they're going to go on and so on, right? So many of these people who are twice born or they're born again, we have to meet these people, and how we gonna coexist with them, how we gonna succeed, albeit their proximity, This often is a very challenging dilemma for people who are already established. Some people, they've worked the way up, like I said, from the old school. You've been a constable, a police constable, you have to ride a bicycle until you become an inspector, then you get a car. But the thing is that you work, you struggle for it. You have to do exams, you have to go to university, right? Maybe you're a nurse. How you start as a trainee before you become a professional and go on. There are steps in nursing also, and eventually you study. So as you study why you struggle to improve yourself, to get betterment, to make your family better. But many times these things are not recognized, These people's struggles and their achievement are not taken into consolidation by the wise, by the elders, by the senior people. They have to look at these things, right? Not everybody can be placed. If you're going to talk in terms of modern society and sociology and human society and these kind of thing, the humanites, as the University of Guyana say, right? You have to take into consideration that people emerge from different backgrounds. We are tailored by our experiences in those places, by our culture, by our family, by our school, the educational curriculum that you sat in, that you dwelt, that you emerged from. All these things are to be taken into consideration. The difficulty is that when people succeed, they kind of like change, and they think, or they kind of assume that status of success that they achieve through all the hard work and the struggle has somehow changed them genetically, psychologically, physically, mentally. I do not know if it is so, but I do know that when people elevate themselves through struggle, they do change. And due to the education, the information that they acquired, the tests they had to face, the challenges, they also emerge wiser, more experienced. And that's why they kind of like take up offices, they kind of have certain positions and so on. But oftentimes you see many of these successful people decline as time goes by. As time goes by, they do not maintain the same standard they would have in university or in school. For example, when you go to high school, you cannot smoke. You have a dress code. You have to dress appropriately. You cannot take drugs. You cannot fight and get into physical alterations. Now in school, you see people, They fight and they get stabbed, they go in hospital, there are serious police issues and court issues among students and all these things. Now students have to compete with these rivals, these so-called rivals who have physical prowess, dominance, and the thing is lacking is discrimination, what in yoga is called vivek. How do we know this is right for us? How do we know this is wrong? When the trend is that we should fight, we should get into physical confrontation and violence, if we are not prepared for it, if we are not trained, right? You cannot face certain situations. So these are all the things sociologists have to be well trained in our society. Social workers, how they create social settings for people who are more intellectually predisposed or people who have intellectual training, have been molded to do intellectual work, so society is not very we should say accessible in a super format. It has to be always revised, and they're always upgrading, there are always innovations for betterment, for change. In my time, we did not computers, we did not cell phone. Now there's digitalization so much. Now they have biometric reading, they have fingerprinting to get access to places, facial recognition, voice recognition. You have to throw for identification purposes before you get access to technological departments and facilities and so on. So we see the old schools of philosophy, which incidentally is not predominantly here at our university. I don't see our university stretching so much on philosophy. Psychology they have started to introduce, but at least there's not a chair, a philosophical chair. In Guyana, I know when Swami Vivekananda went to America, for example, and England, the West, they offered him a chair at Oxford, at Harvard, and these places in the philosophy department. Even in abroad, there are parapsychological department for the paranormal, where people can examine issues and social trends that don't fit in the norm, in the tapestry or the network of resolvable issues and addressable situations. These have to be classified in a separate category, things that are strange, that are outlandish, and that has to be addressed probably by consultant experts and more technical and trained people and so on. So you see, society here, for a new people, we're a new world here. I don't know how it will evolve and how we will make it work. There are the problem of race, different racial groups saying God made one superior to the other. The Chinese is superior to the Indians, and the whites are superior to the Indians and superior to the Africans and everybody else based on technological, scientific innovations and so on. Incidentally, these scientific things, they've been invented from a very primitive point, and people over the hundreds of years, thousand years, people evolve their workability and their we should say their mechanics and so on. People have improved on it. People have improved on their machineries. So society wasn't born like that overnight. Like the English saying is, Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome, the great civilization of Julius Caesar, that we see present and dominant today in many Western places. Even Mr. Putin, not Rasputin, Mr. Putin, Vladimir, he was saying that most of the Western places, they have come out of Rome. They've come out from Caesar's empire. And Russia did not follow the doctrine of Caesar. They were separate and independent, and they evolved in their own way and so on. So we see there are very lot of technicalities and wealth and resources, human resources, mineral resources, natural resources. They all play a part in making our country comfortable to live in, But most of all, what is envious is that the kind of, I would say, the level and standard of human being, the quality of human to play a part, And even though we try to rehabilitate people, we try to help people with disabilities, people who are maybe blind, people who are deaf, people who are handicapped, and so on. We try to help them also, but there's issues that many of the people that we're helping, if they are within our fold, being protected by our arms, being trained by our mind, and what little facilities and utilities we have, they have been trained, they've made use of it, they have come within our ambience, within our radius, and we've helped them with what we have. Now these people will not play a part in governing the rest of humanity. And how they do this governing sometimes, and how they calculate the rest of humanity, how they measure them sometimes, is another issue, right? So the issue of, so this whole talk, I would bracket it on the sociology, the humanites, that I'm coming to see that it's a very important part, that the human being has so many parts. There's a sociological part, there's a philosophical part, there's a financial part, there's a scientific or artistic part, the left and the right hemisphere, the brain, they all come into play every day in our life, And how do we get through it? Some people say, just stay in your own corner. Some people say, go out, face the world. And there was one young man who I know, I think his story was from India. He used to be bullied a lot as a young boy growing up. So his mother tell him, why do you come home crying every day? Go out and fight, face the world. He went out, faced the world, he was fighting, he became very famous because he defeated so many people, and he established himself as a warrior fighter. But is this what we are so anxious about, making our life, the human life, define the human life as a fighter, a warrior? Human personality is multifaceted. So we have to develop all these. That's why when we go to school, there are many subjects, not one subject. There's a person who has a physicist mind, a biologist mind, a chemist mind, a language-oriented person. He likes to exercise his voice or his articulations. He might go more into the language stream and the art stream and so on. So human being is a multifaceted personality, and we cannot define or put us down as a physical unit or a mental unit or a disabled unit. We are constantly changing, we are constantly moving. That's my belief, And there is the attempt to help us to move in a proper direction, a positive direction. But still, they say, according to the tantric doctrines, they say in the physical world, right, there's always reaction, no matter how much progress we make in the physical world or in the mental world. There is side effect. You create the airplane, there are crashes. There are degradation of parts and machinery, you have to replacement. The medicine, they have the side effects. If you not use it properly, you can be killed. In the machinery, the agriculture, there are side effects. You can be bitten by a snake. You can eat the wrong vegetable. You can get affected by insecticide, malation, and so on. So they say in the physical and mental arenas, people do have side effects. For every step forward, there might be 2 or 3 steps backwards you have to encounter or feel or experience, and this leaving us oftentimes bitter, agitated, frustrated, irritated, discontented. So that's why one of the greatest saints of this century, she said progress only comes in the spiritual form, in the spiritual level. when you advance spiritually, there's no reaction, there's no side effect. So that's why many people say that the spiritual foundation is important from youth, from the age of 5 to 25. And from that, you use your spiritual wisdom to operate in the external world. And that's how we have the gurukuls, the center of learning, Taxishila, and the other university. Forget the name now, I can't remember it. And all these old universities, how they were teaching in Greece and these places, that man making is essential at the level of school, at the school scenario. We have to evolve. And those who are evolved properly, they become good people, they become great personalities, they become resourceful and helpful to the nation, you know. So like my one teacher was telling me, he said a lot of efforts go into shaping a person because his contribution might be invaluable. It's a very important, it's very necessarily. People, a lot of effort is put on people. Sometimes they misuse your money, sometimes they cause problems, but the contribution that they will probably make to society, the name that will leave behind, the souls they will affect in a positive way is irredeemable, is priceless, is more than the loss you might face as a mentor, as a teacher, as a guardian, you know. So I don't know, in this today's society there are so much conflicts and crossfires, you know. People just want to obtain status, position, and to become. I think one of the first ladies who wrote a book about becoming, you know, becoming, I can't remember which one of them. I think it was one of the president's wife. Can't remember which one of them. It was Donald Ramotar or one of them. They wrote a book about becoming, and this was a best-selling book, you know, that people want to become, actualization. You know, I've been exposed to this sort of doctrine in the educational forum, that people have physical need, psychic needs, and spiritual needs, and until these are satisfied and met, he cannot feel complete, he cannot feel actualized, he cannot feel like somebody. So people have to go through the process of actualization. There's no need for crossfire and trying to pull somebody down or trying to attack somebody, you know. And this we find is a modus of operandi, in many societies, in many places, in many homes, in many organizations, that people feel threatened by each other, you know. And despite the nation having enough to feed, clothe, and house people, this fear and insecurity is still there. You know, why is this? There's no need to steal. They're saying there's rich Arab countries and rich countries. Stealing has been reduced to a minimum. Those affluent countries that have made use of their resources, made use of their natural resources. People can do so many things with so little, you know, and that's what we have to learn as a human being. I think that's what the Prout doctrine teaches, P-R-O-U-T. It teaches maximum utilization. See many videos of people utilize maximally simple things like plastic bottles, like banana leaves, like the lotus stem. I never know the roots of the lotus you can eat. Even the banana, when you chop the trees, you can eat the heart inside. They fry, they make chips. The roots, near the root, there is a corm that they can pound and make a paste, which is then made into noodles and a delicacy that has a sweet flavor. So people can survive and live, you know. But the thing is to know the know-how. And this is what God gives you, how to relate to his natural obligations, the things that he bestow upon us, that he placed around us. They say for every problem, every sickness, there's a solution right there. There's a remedy right around us. But those who have eyes to see, they have to see. Right? That's why we have good people, knowledgeable people, insightful people, the monks, the Buddhist monks, the teachers, the wise men. They help society in many ways. You know, like there's one tantric master I know. When he came, he gave so much formulas how to make food and dishes, so many recipes. How we know them, I don't know. He gave music and song to spice up and to make your everyday life more comforting and relaxing. He gave so many things, you know, that makes life more. So there are people who have potential and resources, and if we can bring that out, that dormant, that latent thing, much of our fighting and crossfiring will be reduced, because you will be talented and you will contribute something, some skill, something to help. As you evolve, as you open up, you know, you could see more, you know more, you become more practical, you can do things, you know. So there's so much to learn and so much to know and so much to bring into our everyday life that we have no reason to fight, no reason to criticize in such a derogatory manner, using such terms and, you know, trying to sabotage each other. You know, these kind of things should not be there, you know. But when you have to live with it, you have to try to navigate with them, navigate through them, about them, above and under, like prepositionally. You have to learn to cope with it. You have to educate people and let them know these things. You know, that's how a fertile mind is important, and that those things which destroy the mind will affect our productivity, our initiatives, our creativity, and so on. So that's how we have the idea of natural living, organic living, going back to our roots, hold such a sway, because people realize what they're losing and they try to recover and they make a big school out of it, a big argument. But the thing is, we have to go slowly, we have to go carefully, we have to know what we're about. And that's why people hire consultants, they hire the experts, pay them so many money. I wonder if we have all these big monks coming to Guyana, these big yogis, we might have to be able to finance them some way, because to give all this wisdom and knowledge, what they would actually expect in return, what they will actually need, you know. For example, many monks who work abroad in foreign places, the country is now returning to them a pension, or financially they fund their work and so on. So when they come here, what they will get, people think in terms of these lines. So we don't have much monks coming at certain venues and certain zones on the globe. They go mostly in those places where people can appreciate the work they are doing. People help them. What they need, they give you so much. All they ask for is some dal and roti, some achar, a little bit choka. You gotta give them in return, and you get back so much. You know, the Sufis, the Muslim mystics. You know, I used to have so much admiration for these Sufis. Only recently I saw some documentary that they were also very aggressive where the religion is concerned. Also, I didn't know they were so aggressive. But these Sufis, they say, give us all you have and we will give you all we have. So they're saying that all this knowledge you can have, but you gotta help them also, because what they lack, you lack. And this is the same case with the personality. God tests you where you're weakened. If it's courage, if it's strength, if it's intellect, If it's practicality, he will test you. You will have situations where you have to improve in those areas. Only then you can become perfect. So at the end of our life, we become so much more enhanced, so much more improved. So there's an improved version of you, an improved version of me at the end of our life. But what I'm saying is that we could make it easier, a much more enjoyable process. Sometimes it's so provoking and aggravating, people make the whole life so much challenging, there's so much irksomeness, so much unpolished experiences. Some people say crass, crude, antisocial. But do we need those experiences to progress? Ananda Murtiji, the Guru, his blessing is, may we all see the bright side of life. May we all see that is good and beneficial. May we don't have no reason to experience the ugly, the bad, and the negative that can go so gross sometimes. So that's his blessing. May we see everything that is good and beneficial for us. There's no need to see that which is in the forbidden or the dark forest. So we have to ask ourselves whether we need these degenerative, these discordant notes in our everyday life to progress and improve, or whether we can forego them, we could relinquish them. If we can relinquish somebody cursing us, or walking our foot, or poking the fingers in our eyes, or stealing from us. There are so many people who borrow, they take money from you, but they don't want to return it physically. They say they will give you moral support and they will help you to get the money back in other ways and means. But this is not how they got your cash in the first place. They got it physically, and you were expecting a physical return, not a roundabout story or beating around the bush something. So does it people take from you, but they want to give it back in their own way? Everybody has their own design and ways at perfection. So we want to know if we could trim off some of these thorns, some of these overgrowth, and we can see the bright side of life only. Do we need to undergo the hard, the penances, the ugly and the crude for improvement? Is it necessary? Or we can improve without that? Is it necessary to go to hell to become a human or to become divine? Or do we need, or we can stay right on earth or in heaven and improve? Many people say that the human body is the best body because it has the 7 chakras, and even the gods jealous the human body because it is the best physical apparatus to practice spiritual living. It has all the psychic nadis and the psychic centers, and the psychic network is at its best optimum for us to perceive the supercausal and the metaphysical realities. So we are asking ourselves, do we need a demon body? Do we need a negative experience to experience God and the divine? We have a human body, let's experience a human life. Those days when we experience hell and the torments of Hades, what they call these places, the negative zones, those days are gone when we take birth in those places. Today we've evolved and we have human incarnation. We should have human experiences. That's my logic and reasoning. So what I'm saying is that I do hope that despite all the physical contributions that is making towards uplifting our people and helping our people, we can be able to help these people to improve also in their rhetoric, in their repertoire, in their psychology, in their spiritual emanation or radiance, so that we can live and let others live, so that we can survive and let others survive in a progressive, in a enjoyable, in an adventurous, in a dignified and human way. I think that's one of the reasons why many people are running away from their own country. They're going abroad, they're looking for freedom. You wanted freedom, you wanted liberation here. You fought for a liberation and you can't find it. Now you're going back very much to those places that you disposed of in the first place. So it's kind of paradoxical. It's kind of like kind of an, we should say, psychological challenge, So we have to try to make our lives best wherever we are, and we have to examine so many things. Life doesn't come easy. We have to work for it, and we have to struggle for it. But that doesn't mean we have to fight, and we have to spit, and we have to provoke, and we have to insult each other, We can do it in a human way and a better way. And only this way we can, have a country that is enviable. We can have a society that is standard and we should say it's not only standard but is livable, and we can survive and adapt with. Not anything impossible or within our limits, within our. Some people say, I don't know if you're gonna make it. I don't know if you're gonna survive. You look like you can't make it. This life is not for, life is supposed to be within our grasp, within our capacity, and if we really just, God help us too. So I think this is enough for today, and I do wish us all happy living, enjoyable living, and we should say a better tomorrow. Namaskar, happy Thursday.